We now return to your regular programming.
Megatron, terrorize!
Now this is an interesting little point to show out. In the original series, Autobots and Decepticons and the like would simply transform, whenever they felt like it or the need arose, with very little fanfare usually. Beast Wars introduced the concept of a command code. This is when the Transformer would shout out his command code to initiate transformation. Maximals and Predacons each had their own type of command code. A Maximal would shout maximize to transform into his robot mode, and a Predacon would shout terrorize. To go back to their beast modes, both factions would simply say beast mode. Now occasionally characters would transform without saying anything, but normally they would shout out their command code. Beast machines skewed with this a little bit. Maximals, because they were technorganic, that is half machine, half organic, kind of like a cyborg, no longer had command code, but instead kind of had to enter a meditative state in order to transform. And so instead would repeat a mantra. I am transformed.
The Oracle has melded us into a balance of both machine and living tissue. Command codes and onboard computers are things of the past.
So, what are we? Robots or animals?
Both, and neither.
Well, that sure clears it up.
The key is finding the balance in yourself. Then and only then can you truly say, I am transformed.
Transformed. Whoa, check me out.
I am transformed.
Check you out.
I am transformed. I am so transformed. I can't even believe it.
To initiate their robot mode. There was no need to do anything for going into beast mode, because if they lost focus, they simply automatically shifted back to beast mode. Apparently a bit of a reverse, beast mode are their default state, rather than them actually being robots in disguise. For the Viacons, Megatron never used command codes. However, his Viacon generals occasionally would, and each of them had a personalized command code. Tankor would shout pulverize, Jetstorm would shout afterburn, and Thrust would shout overdrive. This was really only done for the first season of Beast Machines, however. In the second season, the surviving Viacon generals didn't tend to use a command code at all, and the new generals introduced afterwards, Obsidian and Stryka, don't believe ever did use command codes. Although, in their first episodes, they did run around shouting phrases, which could be assumed to be their command codes if they had them, as at the point they were pretending to be very unintelligent. So Robots in Disguise went to using the Beast War style command codes, and we'll see the Autobot one in a minute, but the Predacons do all shout terrorize. Unfortunately, I don't know if this is true for the Japanese version and is just part of this translation, or if it is a literal translation, but the characters do seem to have trouble understanding what command code often goes with what mode. A Predacon should only shout terrorize if he's transforming into robot mode, but if you watch the series, you'll note that sometimes they'll shout terrorize to transform into anything. Now, admittedly, with Megatron having 6 different modes, technically means he needs 6 different command codes to transform into his 6 different forms. We'll quickly see that Megatron typically only uses terrorize and then will transform into a random mode, although he occasionally will shout a different command code.
I am Megatron. I am the leader of the Predacons and the future ruler of this galaxy.
The Predacons are in need of energy, and there is one among you who knows the location of every energy source on Earth. You, Dr. Onishi. In the transmissions we intercepted, you were described as Earth's foremost expert.
You won't learn a thing. Not from me.
I do like how Megatron says transmissions we intercepted. He's actually referring to the news broadcast done by Dory earlier, which is just, of course, a general broadcasted television transmission. But the Predacons, being militaristic conquerors, viewed, of course, as it must be some type of top-secret transmissions between the humans, and they've managed to intercept and decode them. It's a nice little bit of character, and something, unfortunately, Robots in Disguise doesn't do a whole lot of.
Answer it, Dad. Answer it.
Koji, listen closely. You've got to.
Dad? My dad's in danger. Somebody's gotta help him.
And somebody will. I'll do everything I can to help your father.
Now, going back with what I said earlier, you do have to remember that this is most people's first modern introduction to Optimus Prime. Granted, this isn't the Optimus Prime, but a Optimus Prime of the Robots in Disguise universe, their equivalent of him. But still, for a lot of people, this was their first modern introduction to the character. And I have to say, I really like this introduction. It's not quite as dramatic, perhaps, as it could have been, but it stands out. I do really like how they have Koji having a very understandable sense of despair here, having just witnessed on TV his father being confronted by a giant 3-story or whatever tall robot, and then having no idea now what's happened to his father. Optimus Prime literally comes almost out of nowhere, like an answer to a prayer. And this is something that has always stuck with me. As I said, I was familiar with the character of the original Optimus Prime, but really beyond being kind of aware of him and thinking that he was a pretty epic looking character, I didn't really have too much solid memories of him or anything really about him. So this, in a lot of ways, even for me, was kind of the first time I really got introduced to him. And this introduction has always stuck with me. I really like it.
Unit 6 to base, the fire's under control.
Please step away from the truck.
I heard a voice, but there's no one there.
It's an emergency. I'm going to need to borrow your truck for a while. Please step back.
Yeah, sure.
The truck will be returned to the station as soon as my mission is completed. Thanks for your cooperation.
Now here's where the Robots in Disguise title gets its justification, if you will. The humans, as I said in a previous episode, have no idea the Autobots exist. Again, you have to remember Robots in Disguise takes place in its own separate universe. Therefore, the Autobot-Decepticon conflict that happened in the 80s show has not taken place on this Earth. They don't know anything about Cybertron, Transformers, Optimus, nothing. And so the Autobots have been here for an indistinguishable amount of time, pretending to be regular cars. Optimus Prime is a fire engine that is part of the city's fire station. We're never given a specific name or number for the station, but he's just pretended to be a fire engine this entire time, and only now that Megatron has shown up, now he's got other duties and tending to this local fire.
Where is this guy?
Get in. We've got to hurry.
Okay. Hey! What's going on?
Now, we're never really properly introduced to Koji's mother. She was there in the background in some of the earlier scenes where we were introduced to Koji, but apparently she's never taught him not to meet up with strangers in the middle of the night.
Take it easy, Koji.
Huh?
I suppose I should introduce myself. My name is Optimus Prime. I'm an Autobot from the planet Cybertron.
A robot from another planet?
That's right. Now we've got no time to lose. We've got to get to your father as quickly as possible.
Now, similar with Megatron, it is worth pointing out in the Japanese version, this is not Optimus Prime. Again, keep in mind, of course, they do give him a different name in Japan. Optimus Prime is known as Convoy, but this isn't Convoy either. This, in fact, is a completely unrelated separate character called Fire Convoy, who just happens to have a similar name and look to Convoy, or as he is better known, Optimus Prime.
The symposium's in New York. You can't drive across the Atlantic Ocean.
Anything is possible, Koji. Never forget that. What you are about to see cannot be shared with anyone.
It's a dead end. What are you doing? Where are we going?
This is the global space bridge. It uses transwarp technology to get us any place on Earth in a matter of minutes.
I hope you're right. Because right now it looks like we're headed straight into the ocean.
The space bridge uses an auto-sensor interlink, which opens the portals we need and closes the ones we've just passed through. It keeps track of our location anywhere on the planet. Now, let's go rescue your father.
Now here we're introduced to the Global Space Bridge. This is kind of a combination of two different concepts. The Space Bridge from the original series in the 80s and Transwarp from Beast Wars. Both of these involve a sort of, well, typically faster than light kind of travel. The Space Bridge is essentially a wormhole, not unlike a Stargate, if you've ever watched or seen the Stargate movies or TV series. And Transwarp is not unlike the warp drive of Star Trek with time travel thrown in. The Global Space Bridge basically takes these two names and mashes them together to create their own form of fast transit. I don't think it really has anything to do with either of them. Again, kind of a little Easter eggish sort of thing. If you're familiar with either of those two shows, you'll recognize these terms, and you'll at least have a general concept of what the Space Bridge is meant to do. The Global Space Bridge is the Autobots' way of getting around. It can take them to literally almost any part on Earth, or at least anywhere on the land. I'm not sure if it's really just a tunnel network or if there is some type of speed boost that happens when they're inside. It's not instantaneous travel, but it does tend to take them only a short time to go anywhere. I also don't quite understand how it's supposed to be a secret. You will note that Optimus tells Koji he can't tell anyone about this, yet literally if anybody is watching, they can see road pieces coming up out of the ground, the water opening up, ramps being deployed. It seems like this would be a really hard thing to keep a secret. Granted that this scene is at least taking place at night, but there will be plenty of episodes where it takes place in the broad daylight with plenty of other people around. And yet somehow the Global Space Bridge is still supposed to be a secret. One also has to wonder how the Autobots keep humans from stumbling across it anyway. I mean, what if a developer came along and decided to build some houses or beach homes along this coast? Or the highway department decided to extend the road? Wouldn't they stumble across the Autobot Space Bridge entrance here? Without at least some type of coordination with the authorities, you would think that you could not keep this a secret. Yet, from all appearances, the Autobots do not coordinate with any human agency or government.
I am Megatron, the ruler of many worlds. You dare to defy me?
You monster! I will never betray planet Earth!
No. Perhaps a demonstration. Megatron, terrorize!